One of my favorite parts about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom has to be the maps. Breath of the Wild's map was so expansive and unique and full of Easter eggs and secrets all over the place. And the same thing goes for Tears of the Kingdom, as there's lots of really cool changes on the surface. There's an amazing second map underground, which I've still barely even touched. So before we start talking about that and talking about locations there that you could have missed, I want to go back to the surface and compare it to Breath of the Wild. So today I picked 8 locations, big and small, and talked about big and subtle differences within these locations, as I have clips of both games showing how those locations have changed in Tears of the Kingdom. Don't worry, we won't be doing anything with story spoilers or any type of bosses with that as well. It will keep it pretty simple and based on these simple location changes that has taken place. So if you guys have any other locations that you want to bring up, small, big, in the middle, it's up to you. Let me know if you notice anything that's kind of different from the first game that you would like to be featured in the next video, and you could be featured in the next video yourself. But thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's video, stop what you're doing, leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Tears of the Kingdom. Now let's get into the maps. First, we go to Goron City, and Goron City overall probably has one of the biggest changes throughout all the cities in the game, because there is a lack of lava in Tears of the Kingdom. But the first thing I noticed was up on the Mount Rushmore of Gorons, the Gorons are still there, and it's still the same statues and monuments, but this time they have marbled eyes or glowing crystal eyes, and there's even a tooth on the Goron from Twilight Princess. The big changes with the actual city is now, thanks to the lack of lava, there's no longer a bridge going through the middle. Everything's kind of sunken down where the lava used to be, and that's kind of the central area where the whole city curves downward into the middle. Next up, we have the Akala Tech Lab and the road to it. Now, in Breath of the Wild, it was just a simple path. There was a destroyed guardian to the right side, and obviously those are gone in Tears of the Kingdom. But what's very interesting about this location is in Tears of the Kingdom, it is taken over by the Yiga clan. And yes, you'll see Yiga statues in a row all the way up the path, with tons of other monsters along the path as well in their own enemy encampments. You'll also notice some Yiga clan symbols all over the telescope, and also the fact that there's no guardians anywhere. There used to be guardians on the top of this place and hanging from cranes, and also a guardian graveyard to the back side, and that's all replaced with broken buildings and broken structures now instead of the guardians. They've all been harvested, it seems, and they are completely gone from this map. The inside is no longer based on Guardian and ancient Sheikah technology, and no longer has Robbie and his student in order to help you out. Instead, it's been completely taken over by the Yiga, where you can actually get the Yiga outfit, and there's tons of plans and where their hideouts are located all over the map with one of their giant maps on the inside. The upstairs is now blocked off, where you'll need to ascend through or use bomb arrows to break it open to get up there, but everything at the top is pretty much the same. And in Breath of the Wild, if you go down to the ravine right beside it, that's just pretty much a little river. There's nothing really here in Breath of the Wild, just the river itself, but in Tears of the Kingdom, there's actually a fairy fountain at the end of the river. Next, we have the Forgotten Temple, and it's kind of required if you want to get all the glyphs because it's one of the very first missions in the game with Impa. But there's some really cool differences that I just wanted to point out from both games. Now, the outside of the temple is ideally the same. All the statues are still the same in the front and still broken in the same spots, including the Loft Wings from Skyward Sword. Now, obviously, there's a huge difference in Breath of the Wild. The room is absolutely full of guardians, and there's also tons of updrafts for you to fly all the way to the end of the Forgotten Temple. But in Tears of the Kingdom, these guardians and the updrafts are completely gone. It's actually a nice, peaceful walk to the end with just a couple of bokoblins and moblins in your way. And when you get to the final area, you'll see the huge statue of the goddess all the way from Skyward Sword sitting at the end. But obviously, in Breath of the Wild, you can't get behind it because there's tons of sand and dirt blocking your way. In Tears of the Kingdom, as you're flying over, you'll notice that the statue is gone. Well, in fact, it's actually laying down. It has fallen over thanks to the events of Tears of the Kingdom, and now you can get behind it to see a secret Zonai room, where it shows you the map of all the glyphs all over your current map that you can go visit. And I will just give a little bit of advice, definitely take a picture of the statue laying over because you'll need it for later. I'm not going to say why, but just take a picture. Another big change is one of my favorite locations from Breath of the Wild is the Picada Stone Grove. This one was really cool, and they actually decided to put a tower here in Tears of the Kingdom. And that's one of the biggest differences, but what's also different is thanks to all the falling debris from the sky, it's also shifted the giant stones that popped out of the ground, and in Tears of the Kingdom, it's actually broke one of the giant stones all the way down where there's now a giant gap in the middle where you can see all the way through and you can even see the sky arc. It's also affected lots of the stone grove itself, where lots of the stone slates are shifted and broken now. And in Breath of the Wild, there was actually a frost talus on one of them, one of the bigger ones that are now separated into two smaller pieces. Well, if you go there in Tears of the Kingdom, you'll see some mini frost taluses still there, but the mama seems to be gone forever. There's also the fact that in the middle of all this, there is now a giant tower for you to go up to. Okay, let's go back and revisit one of the divine beasts, Varuda. Varuda takes place in this giant crevice up on the hill in this little lake, and obviously in Breath of the Wild, you can't really do anything here, especially once Varuda is here, and it's just a lake all the way around with the giant divine beast sticking out of it. But in Tears of the Kingdom, they actually added some stuff here. Some of the fallen debris actually landed here, and you can actually go into the ground and ascend through the middle portion in order to get a special chest, which is pretty cool. But right now it's just some Lizalfos and some ruins in Tears of the Kingdom. Now we go to the Sacred Ground Ruins, which is now Lookout Landing, a village spot. But in Breath of the Wild, there are some broken towers and flags that lead you there, where it seems like in Tears of the Kingdom, these flags and ruins are kind of gone, and the path has changed a little bit. Now, thanks to the flashbacks of Breath of the Wild, we saw that this is where Link was knighted and crowned a champion, the Hylian champion. And you can see in the middle was the sacred Triforce symbol with the 3 spiritual stones from Ocarina of Time engraved into the ground. Hold on real quick. Okay, back to what I was saying. These ruins also have a little waterway around it, but in Tears of the Kingdom, the water is drained and this whole area is turned into a new lookout spot and a gathering spot for people to stay at. And there's even a bunker underneath this platform that they made for residents of Hyrule to be safe and to hide in case there's some type of incoming threat. It seems like the terrain in the whole area was slightly shifted just to make room for this new town, which is pretty cool. Next up we have Drawnox Pass, or the flight range near Rito Village. It was once full of blue targets, and those targets are now gone. It's kind of barren, but if you go up to the shack, you'll see Teba and his son Tulin. Look at Tulin, he was so cute. Now he's grown and he's... Okay, I'm about to spoil the game, let me shut up. But now if you go up there in Tears of the Kingdom, you'll see the old chief of the Rito village, Canelli, which is now just kind of relaxing, and he also has a side mission for you. In Breath of the Wild, if you jump all the way to the bottom, you can see a shrine that you can actually enter, and in Tears of the Kingdom, that shrine is completely gone. And instead, this gap is full of different debris from the sky this time around. Then we go to the Mine Labyrinth as our last location. Now this has always been sticking out of the ground pretty high, and you had to find a way up there. I'm sorry for the thunderstorm right now. I just kept restarting and trying new ways to change the weather, and it kept being thunderstorms and cloudy the entire time. In Tears of the Kingdom, this location is pretty much the same, especially on the outside. The only thing that's added now seems to be a couple of planks to get up there, and a new Zonai stone with a message on it, and a new traveler's notebook to tell you what his adventures or where his adventures took him. If you go up to the shrine area, the shrine in Breath of the Wild is in the same exact location where it is in Tears of the Kingdom, where Tears of the Kingdom shrines pushed back a little bit and it's just a lot smaller, making the room look a lot bigger. Tears of the Kingdom also has tons of gloom or malice all over the walls and pillars in this area, and it's also got brand new waterways, including square and rectangular patches of water down on the maze floor. In Breath of the Wild, you can also jump down a vent that takes you to a room underneath that's also full of guardians and a special chest that you can collect. And the vent looks different. It looks kind of like a small chimney this time around, but in Tears of the Kingdom, there's no guardians down here, and this vent doesn't look like this. It's more of a giant gate that actually can take you all the way to the depths, but it's locked until you do a certain quest. In Tears of the Kingdom, instead of sending guardians after you, yep, you got gloom hands to deal with. And a very special weapon if you're able to defeat it and what comes after it. Obviously at the top, the only thing that's added in Tears of the Kingdom is the floating sky labyrinth that's above it. But thank you guys so much for tuning in and checking out these 8 locations and how they've updated in Tears of the Kingdom. If there's any other really cool locations that you want to show off and how it's updated now, please make sure you comment them down below and you could appear in the next video. If you enjoyed this video, stop what you're doing, leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See ya guys.